We got this report in on the Owens River and Hot Creek. This is from Fred Rowe at Sierra Bright Dot.
Hello, I'm Fred Rowe from Sierra Bright Dot, Fly Fishing Guide Service. I've been teaching, guiding, writing, and lecturing on fly fishing since 1982. Well, let's get to this week's fly fishing report. Upper Owens River. It's definitely summertime. It's definitely starting to see some hatches on the Upper Owens. Nymphing's been a little more productive, but there is some mayflies and some caddis hatching, and we're fishing those. But for the most part, I'm fishing either under an indicator or fishing a dry and a dropper technique. Underneath, I'm fishing hare's ears and pheasant tails. On top, I'm fishing blueing olives, tricos, and PMDs if I see them out on the water. All right, let's go over to the Hot Creek area. Well, we break the Hot Creek down into the interpretive side and into the canyon. The interpretive side, we're starting to see a little bit of hatches in the morning. Believe it or not, early in the season for them, but we're seeing tricos hatch in the morning. And that's providing the bulk of the action, starting between 8 and 9, and it's done by 12, 1 o'clock at the very latest. Some days even before noon. Fishing both spinners and the dun pattern in the morning for that pattern. There's caddis on the water, the fish really aren't feeding them. Down in the canyon, well, the weeds are growing up. We're seeing lots of big weed beds. If you can fish the little runs in between the weeds, get your nymph to drift in there, you can get a few fish. But for the canyon, it's fishing a little tough. You just got to cover a lot of water to find fish that want to take your nymphs. And down there, I'm fishing size 20, beadhead flashback pheasant tails. I'm fishing midges, primarily tiger midges and zebra midges. And then I'm also fishing caddis patterns. And I'm using a size 20 grade caddis emerger pattern. Okay, over to Crawley. It's starting to get a little bit better. It's warmed up, starting to get a little more consistent. Fishing 15 to 30 feet of water, and we're using same basic 4 midge patterns. We're using gray body, and then we're using a wine colored body with a white bead, which we call the albino baron. And then we're using black bodies with copper wire, silver wire, and red wire. And we're fishing those in either a 16 or 18, depending on the hook we're using. Fishing has been pretty much in the McGee Bay area and a little bit on the north end up by Green Banks. But a few guys are breaking away from the flotilla and finding fish on their own and doing really well because there's not dealing with the fishing pressure of everybody around them. All right, there's been a few freestones I've been fishing, Rock Creek and Bishop Creek in particular. Both of those are dropping a little bit. They're still fishing good, just not quite as much water, which means I got to sneak up a little bit more on the fish. Great place to fish a dry, and particularly the dry and dropper. I like fishing a size 16 Adams parachute or size 16 elk hair caddis, and for the nymph, I'm using either a pheasant tail or a gold-ribbed hare's ear. Well, down into the Owens Valley, it's getting hot. It's getting in the 90s and 100s every day. If you're gonna fish, be on the water no longer later than 8, but 7 o'clock isn't really too early to be on the water to beat the heat. Be off the water by noon. Nymphing on the lower Owens is what we're doing right now. And in particular, I'm Euro nymphing it, and I'm using my standard 3-fly rig of a Prince nymph with a green gold wire body, the stoner nymph, and then the Batano nymph. And I'm dredging that in the deeper holes and fishing in the morning. We're trying to find places where we can wade in the river and where we can get in the shade and stay out of the sun. And then Bishop Creek Canal, it's fishing good too. Primarily a nymphing thing, not really seeing fish coming up and working the surface. Was actually on it today. Saw swallows feeding on insects, but only a couple of fish coming up and feeding. Gold-ribbed hare's ears and pheasant tails did the trick. and we're fishing both under an indicator and under a dry fly. For the dry fly, I'm using a mini Chernobyl ant, or I'm using the Adams parachute pattern. For the nymphs, I'm using the hare's ear and the pheasant tail. Well, that's this week's fly fishing report, brought to you by Fred Rowe from Sierra Bright Fly Fishing Guide Service. I can be found on Instagram or Facebook, or on my webpage at sierrabright.com.
Great detailed information from Fred Rowe of Sierra Bright Dot. We appreciate his report on the Owens River and Hot Creek. If you want to get in touch with Fred, he guides up in the Eastern Sierras. Just let us know. We'll put you in contact. And we'll see you right here next time on The Back.